Hello and welcome to Tips and Tricks to Boost Your Year-End Fundraising Campaign webinar hosted by Add This with a panel of speakers who I will go ahead and introduce now. We're being joined by Lynn Luong, the Assistant Manager of Digital Marketing at Mercy Home, Carrie Cran, the Manager of Stewardship at AFS USA, Luis Cisneros, Senior Digital Marketing and Web Strategy Manager at AFS USA, and Caitlin Belt, Corporate Communications Manager at AFS USA. And my name is Shannon Madlin, Director of Product Marketing at Add This. Welcome, joining to the webinar. First, we're going to go ahead and go through some housekeeping agendas. This webinar is being recorded and will be emailed to you along with the slides post-webinar. All attendees are on mute, so if you have a question, you can feel free to submit it in the GoToWebinar console on your right-hand side, unless you've moved it to your left-hand side, whatever is up to you. We will do a Q&A session afterwards and get to as many questions as we possibly can. If we're not able to get to your question, we will be reaching out via email after the webinar, and you can always find us on social media. First and foremost, we'll go through the agenda. We've done introductions. We're going to tackle tactics for success today, lessons learned, and key takeaways with fundraising campaigns throughout the year, specifically year-end campaigns. As I mentioned earlier, today we're speaking with panelists from AFS USA and Mercy Home. But if you are unfamiliar with Add This or looking to learn a little bit more about us, we are a company that provides marketing tools for all kinds of websites, from blogs to Fortune 500s. We've had the pleasure of working with both AFS USA and Mercy Home to help build out their online fundraising campaigns. With that said, Carrie, do you want to talk a little bit about AFS and what you all do there?
Sure. So AFS is a global leader in education. The AFS network is a worldwide network that has approximately 40 partners in different countries globally, including the U.S. And so we are AFS in the USA. And our mission is to increase the global competency and the cultural awareness of U.S. students, families, schools, and communities, and we do this primarily through international student exchange programs. So those would be programs that both send U.S. students to study abroad, as well as programs that host international AFS exchange students from around the world in local communities where they attend local high schools and stay with host families. And we also maintain partnerships with educators across the country and work to develop global learning resources for classrooms in the U.S.
Excellent, awesome. And Lynn, can you tell us a little bit about Mercy Home?
Of course. So Mercy Home is a 128-year-old Catholic charity based in Chicago. We support abused, neglected, and at-risk youth, boys and girls, ages from 9 to 21, and they mainly come from the south side of Chicago. Our residential care, which includes therapy, educational help, support, and resources, gives these children a chance to succeed for themselves. And on top of this, we also have a community-based mentoring program and additional programs to help the graduates of Mercy Home to support themselves and their families after they've left Mercy Home.
Excellent. Thank you all. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump straight into the panelists and questions. First, tactics for success, which is primarily why most people are probably here. How do you measure campaign success for your organization? Lynn, would you like to start?
Sure. So we are always looking to reach our revenue goal, which I think a lot of us are trying to do. Second thing is number of donors. How many people were we able to get our campaign message across to? Upselling our donors to become recurring donors. The more people that visit your site, you'll begin to build that brand awareness and recognition of the work your organization does. New leads, analyzing all channels and seeing what worked well, where did they come from, and what message worked well for that new donor. And to continue to give your current donors what they want and see what's worked before as well.
Okay, and Carrie, do you have any sentiments to echo those?
Yes, just a couple of additions. Well, obviously, we also are looking at funds raised, especially at the end of the year. But we also look at brand new donors to the organization and things like the number of gifts that have upgraded from last year and the number of renewing gifts.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay. And what tactics have you used in the past to increase your campaign success rate? So clearly, most nonprofits and educational organizations run multiple campaigns throughout the year. What do you deem successful, and what tactics have you used? Caitlin, do you want to start on this one?
This is Carrie, actually. One thing that's worked well for us in a variety of ways are matching days or matching time frames. So one thing that we did when we thought about our Giving Tuesday campaign last year is we set up a donor who would match all gifts made during the week leading up to Giving Tuesday. And that really inspires a lot of people. People love to give to a matching campaign, and they love a deadline too. And we actually, after we were running that match, another donor stepped forward and said, hey, I want to do this too. How can I be a matching donor?
Can you tell us a little bit more about Giving Tuesday? Is it just a designated day of the week to try to get people to engage on that particular day, but obviously you accept funds throughout the entire campaign?
Exactly. So last year was actually our first experience with Giving Tuesday, but it's a follow-up, to Black Friday and Cyber Monday. It's a day of charity. And last year we ran a very specific campaign where we raised scholarship dollars. But in addition to that, we're doing general fundraising for our annual giving campaign throughout the year and do additional pushes for that through the end of the year as well.
Okay. And Lynn, what about Mercy Home?
Yeah, so sometimes and hopefully most of the time you'll reach your goal, and if you haven't met your goal yet, then I would update your donors to tell them the progress of your goal and to help you get there. If you have met your goal, we usually do an extended goal, which we actually did for Giving Tuesday, which was fantastic and generated an additional, I think, $3,000 in the last 2 hours of that day. And the last thing I would definitely say is talking to your coworkers, your team, your board members, and anyone who's like really close to your organization to ask them to share with their friends and family, making it easy enough for them to share the content for their supporters and being able to give them, instructions or images or videos in any form of content so that they can share on their social networks as well.
So those are really good strategies. I'd love to learn a little bit more about optimization to make sure that those strategies are working effectively, specifically on your website. Luis, would you like to address that for AFS?
Sure. One of the things that are very important from a website perspective on any campaign or anything at all is to know that your analytics are set up properly, so you can track all the success and who is visiting at what times, where people are actually taking action, when they're taking action, and where in your website are they dropping off or staying on track to take an action. Another thing that is very important is to make sure that you create unique campaign codes that, regardless of where you send out a communication, a campaign code is attached to whatever link that you put out there, and you can track people from the different mediums and sources that they're coming from. And that's important because later on, when you're implementing tools like, for example, the Add This tool, you can definitely know, you can serve specific messages to the visitors that are coming from a specific campaign that they have found in whatever channel you're publishing your message.
Yeah, that's really important. We use UTM codes across all of the different campaigns that we're running. And there's one on here that I think, Lynn, you added, simplifying your online donation form specifically for mobile. I'd love for you to speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so just making sure your form is mobile responsive, meaning your form doesn't have to be pinched in Zoom on tablets or phones, and that your form is literally responsive when it recognizes it's a mobile device or a tablet device. And the other thing is just testing everything to making sure, you're getting most of your traffic during this time of the year, see what images are working well by optimizing your campaign and pushing your best performing images and copy. That's what we've been seeing. And testing your donation paths is always interesting. Last year we actually decided to send our donors to a landing page specifically for end of year instead of sending them directly to our donation form. And that gave us a 12% increase in our revenue, which was great. So I'm a fan of landing pages. It's just making sure that the content on there is optimized for your user.
Yeah, and one of the points that we put at the bottom is that mobile usage has grown dramatically year over year and continues to grow. So, outside of just making sure that your online donation form is optimized, that they get the same experience on mobile that they do on desktop. It's something that we preach and believe very strongly in. So those are all really good tips, and I'd love to dig in a little bit more on lessons learned from past campaigns. What strategies have and have not worked well in past campaigns? Let's see. Caitlin, do you want to address this one?
Sure. So specifically, we've drawn a lot of lessons from our crowdfunding campaign on Giving Tuesday last year. One of the things that worked really well for us was setting kind of a modest goal up front, something we were pretty certain we could achieve, and then actually kind of announcing a new higher goal in the final days of the campaign when we realized we had already exceeded our goal. And it provided impetus for us to insert an additional challenge to all of our donors. And I think in that context, you can even circle back to some of the donors who gave in the earlier days and say, thank you so much for your gift. We, due to overwhelming success, we've decided to shoot for this slightly higher number. Would you be willing to donate just a little bit more to help us get there? And obviously be very clear in communicating the impact that the additional money raised is going to have. But, re-engaging them in that fashion. I think something that a lot of people do is just assume that the second somebody's given, they should be dropped off of all campaign communications. And while you don't want to bombard them with a bunch of additional emails, I think you can actually go back at least just one more time at the very end. And, if you have a new goal, you can just update them and say, hey, look, here's our new goal. We're really going to go for it. Can you help out just a little bit more? So starting with a modest goal, exceeding it, and then introducing a new goal is kind of just a more dynamic strategy that makes things seem exciting to your audiences. Something else that we did is we lined up a number of donors before the campaign even began, and the amount of donations that those donors committed to making actually pretty well got us towards our initial goal. So we felt pretty confident from day one that we were going to definitely meet this goal, regardless of whether anybody else decided to give or not.
Right. And do you feel like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you feel like having that limited time or window of time so that there's a sense of urgency helps boost those last minute donations?
Absolutely. And something that these pre-designated donors can help out with is creating what Carrie was mentioning before, these sort of matching days, these matching challenges at strategic intervals throughout the campaign that are very time sensitive. So they're like 24 or 48-hour challenges. And if you've already got people lined up to be the main donor for that matching campaign, then you can kind of, have a schedule for a Giving Tuesday campaign usually runs around like 30 to 60 days. You can actually schedule these things out so that okay, we're going to hopefully have like a big push in the beginning and then another one in the middle and then right before, we end, and then maybe one last final one with our new goal, so that you're not just like going in it on like a hope and a prayer. That from the outside, people are going to perceive success, and that hopefully you're going to also raise additional dollars on top of what you publicly announced as your goal.
Right. Okay, and Lynn, what has worked well for Mercy Home in the past?
Our Google AdWords, the branding keywords, definitely perform better than our non-branded keywords. And retargeting our email list through a couple different third-party tools, as well as using your retarget them on Facebook, has been really great for us. And then taking that same email list and creating a lookalike audience and providing them a personalized message. So, just saying like, hey, we saw that you visited the site, maybe think about coming back and donating to us. And obviously just making it easy enough for your donors to get to that donation form, so reducing the steps to get to the form itself.
That makes sense. So on that same note, what has worked well in the past, or what hasn't worked? Or yep, sorry, what hasn't worked well in the past? My keyboard got a little sticky there. Lynn, do you want to keep?
Yeah, sure. So Twitter wasn't very great for us at all. I think they're still trying to figure that platform out. Being too broad with our campaign goals, so making sure we're asking them exactly why they should donate and what their money is going to go towards. Display advertising was really difficult, I think, only because you can't really see if it's working or not, but you can see positively about the impressions that you're going to make on that person. So grabbing the touch points, and if they see another thing of your ad again, they'll come back to your site and hopefully donate. And like I said earlier, the non-branded keywords are really hard. So if you don't do enough research, it's not worth paying for those keywords.
Yeah, I'd agree. I would say we've experienced some ups and downs with display advertising, but it's a nice way to sort of billboard and advertise and get that recognition from a brand perspective. So it's just as long as you understand what the net result is supposed to be, it can work well for you. Caitlin, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so for us, I think what we discovered did not work as well, and again, this is specifically referring to our Giving Tuesday crowdfunding campaign last year, was having a more general campaign focus. It did work well for our existing audience of donors who are already supporting us, kind of on an annual basis, but it really didn't allow us to generate a lot of new donors or to reach new audiences, really. And I think that's because the people who already support us understand why our work is so important, but for everybody else out there, you have to pitch them some sort of really compelling and kind of specific campaign mission, some impact that they're going to be able to directly affect that reads like a specific cause rather than just generally supporting your organization. And just the timing didn't work out last year for us to have that specific cause, but we're restructuring so that we hopefully will be able to communicate that this year. And for us, interestingly, Facebook ads are really great. For our specific Giving Tuesday crowdfunding campaign, we didn't find a ton of success with them. Mostly we were hoping to generate new audiences and new donors from them. But again, I think that Facebook ads are great for general awareness, but they are a little bit more difficult if you're wanting people to immediately take a very specific action. And so we didn't really perceive a lot of success in doing that through the Facebook ads.
Yeah, and I can imagine that, at this time of year when there's so many other organizations vying for attention, Facebook and Twitter can be a little bit overwhelming. So being more pointed with your tactics makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it was great reaching out to our existing audiences, especially our existing social media audiences who already kind of follow us and look out for these types of things. It was a good way to provide them with quick and easier reminders about the campaign. But nobody knew who's going to say, oh, look at this organization, they're running a Giving Tuesday campaign. Maybe I'll go give to that,
Right. No, that makes total sense. So with what has and has not worked well, what are you planning to do differently this year? Let's see. AFS, do you want to start?
Yeah, so, as I mentioned, one thing that we're going to be doing differently is framing our campaign goals and in terms of more specific language and making it, it's an actual cause rather than just a general organization to support. And we're also this year, we're using what we call a campaign advocate. So this is a campaign that involves fundraising for specific scholarships for a specific type of underserved or a specific type of student in an underserved demographic. And we are actually going to have alumni from this scholarship program from past years participating in the campaign as campaign advocates. So they're sort of the figureheads of the campaign. They're kind of going to take ownership over it in some ways. And they're going to be promoting the campaign among their personal friends and family networks so that we're able to gain wider audiences that way. And we're also going to, it increases the likelihood of us getting buy-in from these new audiences because it makes it much more authentic and it legitimizes the cause. If you have someone other than, AFS USA, the official organization, asking you for money to support, this goal.
Yeah, and I think that you all provided the bullet for providing more information on specifically what your donation amounts provide for beneficiaries. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I think that people really want to know not only where their gift is going, but specifically why when we communicate our ask for money, we usually like to name specific amounts that we would like people to give.
Right.
Just to be very clear and specific in your request, and make it more action oriented. And when we do that, it's helpful to be able to tie that number of dollars to something specific that then gets provided for the campaign's beneficiaries. So for example, in our case, we might say, $100 pays for a student's passport, or in some cases, $20 to $50 could purchase a visa for the country that they want to go study abroad in. Like tying the dollar amounts to just very specific provisions can help people imagine the impact of their gift better, and therefore motivate them to actually take action.
Yeah, I completely understand that. I mean, donor, you want to know where your money's going. So really great tips. Lynn, we'd love to hear from you on some of the tactics for your year-end campaigns.
Yeah, so this year we are actually going to be investing in creating a video. So we'll be reaching out to a third party to create a video for us. People love videos just as much as they love images. And this year for our content marketing strategy, we are framing our campaign message to tell a story, making sure that content is shareable, and just thinking, would you even share this on your own personal network? So just kind of double checking your content that you're sharing is always important. We'll also be kind of refining our communication plan to our new donors journey to make sure they feel good about being part of our community. And the last thing is we'll be following up with our one-time gifts in probably mid-January to ask them to become a monthly giver, just because we're still fresh in their minds, and this is the best time to kind of talk to them again and ask them to become a monthly giver. It's the best time to take that opportunity.
That's awesome. I love the video advertising. I think specifically with some of these social media sites that are becoming more and more popular, having that as a different means of communication is a really smart effort. So awesome. Okay, we are getting close to time's out, so I want to make sure we get to the key takeaways. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so what should you all remember, and then obviously what should our attendees remember as they build out their year-end campaigns? Lynn, do you want to go ahead and continue?
Sure. So plan of your online channels. There's a lot to do. Create pre-plans leading up to make sure that everything is working properly. Create a plan during the campaign to maximize your reach, and create your post plan to continue to stay on track. Inspire people to give by giving them something great to read or to view. And what is the message you want your donor to walk away with? Have that donor share that story for you. And clearly optimize your landing pages and forums, and track all your efforts by creating those UTM links, so you can see what images are working well, what copy is working well, and you can focus on that for your next year for your campaign.
Yeah. And Caitlin, Carrie, or Luis, do you have anything to add?
Just to add the bullet point about segmenting your messaging, really think about who your donors are and make them feel like you know who they are. That's really important. And then just to reiterate the matching donation piece, that's worked for us really well, not just on a giving day or for Giving Tuesday, but also throughout other year-end campaigns.
So it sounds to me like if I was going to boil this down, it would be planning ahead, optimizing and testing, personalizing, knowing your audience, and then creating brand advocates. Would that sound like a nutshell?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think something that I think we didn't mention previously, but I think is really important, is using your existing base of like staff and or volunteers, if you have them, to fuel your campaigns. Those are the people who, I mean, that's going to be the easiest ask that you'll be able to make. You know, so just ask everybody to give $5. I mean, it's nothing. It's, you know, one coffee at Starbucks or something, you know. And it's a great way to, you know, give your campaign some early momentum if it's lagging a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think tapping into your own audience and creating brand advocates, but definitely using your own staff members who should be your biggest advocates to help spread the word is a really good idea.
Yeah.
All right. So let's take some questions from the audience. I think one of the first ones we got went back to what worked well and didn't work well. The question is, what's the difference between brand keywords versus non-branded keywords? Lynn, I believe that you were talking to these points.
Yeah, so the brand keywords is just if people are searching for mercy, mercy home, boys and girls, mercy home for boys and girls. Those are our brand keywords. The non-brand keywords a little bit more difficult. So if people are searching for kids in crisis, that's a little bit difficult to find us. So brand keywords have worked really well for us in the past 3 years that we've been doing it with the Google grants. Non-brand keywords, we're still working on it. We're trying to, you know, what I'm doing lately now is just researching what are the top key phrases that aren't competing for that bid spot right now.
Yeah, also from the AFS perspective, also in branded and non-branded keywords, so one key thing that you should remember when you're optimizing your website is that all the non-branded keywords are all the keywords that people are going to search for an organization not knowing their name specifically. So if someone is searching for exchange opportunities to volunteer abroad for a summer, that's completely non-branded terms that your page should have, that will optimize, you know, that will make your page be visible when people are searching for them. And then the branded one will be like AFS programs abroad. That would be like a branded a branded term that people would search for.
Great, thank you. Oops. Go ahead.
No, that was it.
Oh, okay. Great, sorry about that. So we got another question. How do you do audience redirecting? I think they meant retargeting, and then share a site to learn more. So essentially audience retargeting and sharing information. So if you guys want to talk to the sharing website tools that you've used in the past, and then audience retargeting. Anybody want to take that?
I'll say something. We love using the edit tool. I know I'm like preaching to you guys right now, but it's awesome because we use the pop-up window thing that you guys have, and we put that up for 2 days of the end of year and generated $5,000 just by putting that direct ask immediately when they're on the landing page. And as for retargeting your list, Facebook is a tool that you can use, Google is a tool you can use, and AdRoll is another one that you could also use.
Awesome. AFS, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, one of the awesome things about the UTM codes, as I was mentioning earlier, is that knowing specifically what campaign people are coming from, you can definitely you can use one of these tools to retarget and serve specific messages. So you know, like one person visited your site on a previous, you know, like at some point, and sign up for a newsletter, for example, and they receive the newsletter, and then they click on one link, and that one link had a specific campaign that you were tracking. And once they go back to your website, you will show a message specifically to them that will be very well targeted and say, like, you know, like, this is your chance to make a difference by just, you know, donating $2, for example. And that message was very, very targeted to that specific person, and it's just a powerful way to track who's visiting your site.
Yeah, and we believe heavily in analytics at this, which I'm sure you have noticed if you follow our blog at all. We have a couple more questions, but we're running out of time, so we'll just do one more quick one. What kind of offline efforts? So we've talked a little bit about this throughout the slides on some specific offline efforts, but in addition to website optimization and website marketing tools, what are some really good offline efforts that you can do together to make it sort of a cohesive campaign?
For AFS, I know we did talk a lot about our Giving Tuesday and a lot of other efforts, but we do a lot of direct mail throughout the year, but additional pushes at the end of the year, mostly targeting our donors who tend to give at that time of the year. And obviously we want the messaging to match with what is happening online, the emails that we're sending out. And we also do a little bit of telemarketing too, but again, like always having the same message go out. But we find that the multi-channels, if we can reach somebody in one channel, they may give through another one. So it's really important to.
And events can be very important too. They can be a great way to gather people in the same room and present them with a really compelling presentation on something new that you're doing. And you know, in our case, since we have program alumni, we've had events where we invite those alumni to come and speak, and they talk about the program, the AFS program they experienced and how it impacted their life. And it becomes a very, you know, emotionally driven ask in that way.
Yeah, one-on-one interactions are always really helpful too, especially to solicit feedback, which has always been helpful for us to make decisions moving forward on, you know, why they're there, what they believe in, and how you can use that for marketing campaigns moving forward. Lynn, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I just have one quick thing to add is, you know, this year we're actually going to try to get our associate board to get involved with actually the Giving Tuesday campaign, to kind of have like a competition for them to see if, you know, which company can raise more money than the other company, and it would just be a very small goal of like $500 maybe. So just kind of making it more fun offline for those people to go to events, you know, hosting like a little cocktail night or something. So that's what we'll be doing this year to support the online efforts for offline, because the direct mail for us, you know, we've already had that nailed down of that whole deal. So we're just trying to make sure that our digital aspect of it is a little bit more different. We're talking to a little bit more different people. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you all so much for joining us today. Really, really beneficial, informational. As I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, we are going to circulate the slides and a recording of the webinar. But in the meantime, you can always visit us at avthis.com, Mercy Home at mercyhome.org, or AFS USA at afsusa.org. Twitter handles are right underneath our logos and URLs. And like I said, any questions, please reach out to all of us. Thank you so much, Carrie, Lynn, Luis, and Caitlin. And we look forward to hosting another webinar soon. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Take care.